Alrighty, guys, we are going to give everybody a couple seconds to get connected here before we get this party fully started. But I hope everybody had a good week this week. I hope you're all recharged and re-energized for the week ahead. It's going to start a little snowy. We're gonna kind of play it by ear and see how things go. We're either going to get a ton of snow or we're not going to get any snow. It's usually how it goes. But we'll keep you posted as far as closings and things like that over at Schrock. We try to not close if at all possible. A lot of times we have staff that live relatively close to the service center, so there's not really a need to shut the place down when there's a little bit of inclement weather. All right. Hello, Mitch. Good to have you with us. Just going to let everybody get connected here. We got 22 of you so far. Blake, good to have you. All right. So we actually have like a solid aftershock today, guys. So I don't know if you could tell, but during the show, I was like, this week I was reflecting a lot about like what we were going to talk about on the program, and I don't know. Part of the radio show, Compute This, is a news and information and entertainment piece, but it's also a marketing piece, right? And I wanted to try to steer the politics out of it again a little bit. Because we had a real hard correction where we were like, burp, and we went into politics because politics entered into technology so heavily with all the banning of Trump and the banning of all conservatives and the banning of any conservative thought and the labeling of anyone who espouses a conservative idea as being a racist or a Nazi or whatever. Literally, it was a hard left turn that had some real societal implications. Kind of had to cover it. And I got a little comfortable talking about politics on the show, a little too comfortable. So I know that not all of my listeners appreciate that. Some of you do, but not all of you do. And I don't want to alienate half my audience because I'm catering to the other half. That's what all the other news channels do. That's one of the reasons I have such a tough time watching Newsmax, guys. I mean, it's just like, give me something real. That was one of the reasons why I was really interested to see the Pete Ricketts' father, what's his name? I forget, Ricketts Sr., call him that, starting Straight Arrow News, and he's going to base it here in Omaha, but it's a national news, basically a national news source for just the facts. I don't know how he's going to, make a lot of money doing that because the opinion pieces are what brings in the eyeballs and the traffic and the viewership. I mean, we've all sat at the airport and watched headline news, and it's really boring. So hopefully he's got a plan to kind of make it a little more energized and a little more fun, but without making it super conservative or super liberal. If he's trying to walk right down the middle of the road, I thought, that's one thing we're really missing right now. We don't have anyone we can trust to bring us news source. We all have biases, right? But we have no one we can trust to bring us legit news. So I want you to feel like Compute This is a program you can come to for legit news, not for technology news anyway. Not some place that you'll tune in for the right-wing perspective on the news or anything like that. So I really, really tried hard today to keep all the politics out of the show. I had one slip about Google, and I was like, afterwards, as Scott was sitting across from me, I was like, I slipped. I was trying to keep all the politics out of it. But we don't have the same rules on the Aftershock because the Aftershock is the Aftershock. We don't really... You can choose not to tune into the Aftershock. It's not really a marketing piece. It's just a bunch of people getting together and chit-chatting for a while. All right, so good morning, Mary. Good to have you. Good morning, Carolyn. Let's hope for less snow. Yeah, I'm driving to Des Moines tomorrow morning, so let's hope for less snow. Richard's back. Paul's here. Good morning. All righty. Got Roger. We have Eileen, top fan Eileen, back for the second hour. Have you guys firmly committed me to an hour here now? Because I was really, I don't, an hour? Like, I mean, if I do 3, then, yeah, no. I was just talking to Scott, and I was like, last week a couple listeners were talking about, oh, look, here's Thor Limbaugh. And literally I was like, no, not even in the same league. And I hadn't listened to Rush in a while, right? And I just found myself with all the news and everything this week. It's like I tuned back into Rush for the first time probably a year and a half, that I've actually listened to Rush. Voice sounds a little bit different. That comes with the territory of terminal cancer, right? This is a guy who gets up every morning with terminal cancer. It's going to kill him. Doesn't know when. But he gets up every morning and chooses to spend his time talking with us because that's what he does. And the perspectives he was delivering, I mean, Scott was like, yeah, I come in and I have a hangnail, and I'm like, "Arr, arr, arr," and I have a bad show. He goes, then you listen to Rush after that, and you're like, okay, perspective. You know, that's something, right? So not even in the same league, guys. So yeah, I don't know if I'm up for a third hour or even a full second hour some days. Alrighty, let's see here. Sorry, I lost my place. I have to scroll back up. I don't want to miss anybody. There we go. Did you get my email about how the guy can't get his bitcoins? It was on his hard drive. Something about iron something. Yeah, he had a hardware-based wallet, which is why I don't recommend hardware wallets. They're supposed to be super secure. Well, they are super secure. And if you're an idiot and you lose your password to your hardware wallet, you'll lose your bitcoins. Software wallets at least don't have limitations on the number of logins and stuff, so that you can still get to those coins if you lose them in there. But I also don't recommend hardware wallets, because what happens if something physically happens to the hardware wallet? What happens if it falls under your car tire and you run over it? What happens if your dog eats it? I mean, that's a real poopy situation you're going to be digging through. I mean, it's not fun. So I'll just keep it on the software. You can back up software. You can't back up hardware. All right, we made it. Karen and I are having our coffee and enjoying the show. Thanks for having us. Good to have you, Roger and Karen. Charles says Loveland is still on. Is that code? Loveland is on. Loveland, Colorado? I'm just curious. Morning, Paul. Dang autocorrect. All right. I love all the information you pass on to us. Well, thank you very much, Tracy. I appreciate you listening to the program as well. Grand Island branch office of Schrock reporting in. I love that. You're never going to let me live there. You're going to be like, we need a Grand Island Schrock. We're working on some things, guys. We'll see. Happy morning from Pierre, South Dakota. My wife and I were like, yeah, South Dakota. It's not that much colder than Nebraska. I sent an email offer to update Secure Updater that would not let me use the 10% discount. Has anyone solved the problem? Loanne, I think they already renewed you, and I did see the email, and I forwarded that onto a front desk. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. And my solution to the problem was either give the woman her, $2.50 refund, or just add $2.50 on her account as a credit on account so she can use it the next time she shops. Whatever we need to do, Loanne, we're going to get you taken care of. If no one has gotten back to you, however, please do reach out to your Schrock Innovations location and explain the situation again. Let them know you talked to me. Let them know that I've emailed about it. And I apologize if that's... We've been crazy busy this week with the solid state upgrades and everything else. And both Parker and I, who would normally handle those situations, we're actually covering Des Moines because of our staff shortage. But the good news is we hired a guy yesterday who looks, on paper anyway, and on Zoom, he looks like a pretty good candidate. And he's going to start tomorrow, actually. So I have to go to Des Moines tomorrow because I have a new guy starting. Otherwise, he'll just be standing in there like, what are we doing? Shelly will be training him. So anyway, Richard, Cheryl, and Rich, Council Bluffs, good to have you guys. Good morning from Lincoln, KJ says. Downloaded Brave browser and enabled IPFS support, but don't quite understand how to get IPFS sites. Could you please touch on this? Absolutely. So KJ, right now, if you think about any other browser you have, you basically click a link, right? So there's not a search engine for IPFS yet. And this is it's really in the weeds to explain this. I was trying to explain it to the lovely Kimberly in the car. To my credit, I was doing a horrible job of explaining it. I think I did better in like the 2-minute segment I did on the radio show about it than I did, with unlimited time in the car with her. Because I, tangent. I couldn't keep focus. But basically, what it amounts to is the information is still stored on a server somewhere, right? So that server could be your home computer. That server could be an Amazon cloud server facility. It's still hosted somewhere. And what happens is the more people who are running the software, basically, the more places all the files get hosted. It's very much like a torrent, if you're familiar with torrenting. And then when there's no central DNS authority. So there's no one point of failure in this structure. That's what makes it so attractive. So in this case, the way that I was able to download something using IPFS is literally the website said, here's our experimental IPFS link. Click. There you go. but no modern browsers that are widely accepted. Brave is the first and only browser that allows IPFS content. So until major browsers start pulling that in, for example, at Schrock, we could replace some of our cloud hosting services from Amazon by putting up servers in all 4 of our service centers that have identical content. And then basically, no matter which service center is available, we could literally host our own content without running a crazy huge file server. What happens if the computer that you're hosting the content on blows up? What happens if it incinerates into a ball of satanic fire? Well, you get another computer, you put it there, you install the IPFS software, and it synchronizes with the others. Literally, there is no central point of failure. To eradicate content from an IPFS system, you would have to eradicate every individual copy of the content on every node on the network. But as you eliminate the nodes and make the data more rare, other nodes start replicating the data because it's more rare. So they're like, we need that particular bit is missing from everywhere else. So questions about security. Is your data secure? Well, you can choose the way you host your stuff, whether your stuff is shared across wide platforms or not. You know, Schrock Innovations, we wouldn't care if we were hosting audio and video and that was shared. That's not secure stuff. But obviously, customer records and things like that would be stored securely. So the best way to think about this is, right now you have a 6-speed automatic transition in your vehicle, and you're going to a 10-speed automatic transmission. You are not going to know how the 10-speed automatic transition works. You're not going to really, fully understand the implications. But what you're going to notice is you're getting better gas mileage because the car is shifting more often. What you're going to notice with an IPFS web browser is that websites that are hosted on IPFS servers download faster than websites that are hosted on Amazon Cloud. IPFS is going to kill cloud hosting within 20 years. Why 20 years? Well, we got to get all the browsers up on it first. That's going to take at least 5, right? Before browsers finally start to say, somebody's going to do it first. Probably, if of the 3 browsers, it's either going to be Safari, or I guess 4. Apple, Mac, Safari will do it first, or Firefox will do it first. And then once those 2 do it, and it becomes kind of a cutting-edge thing, Brave has already done it. So once it becomes a cutting-edge thing in one of the top 3 or 4 browsers, the other browsers are going to have to follow suit. It's not in Google's best interest to follow suit, however. It's not in Microsoft's best interest to follow suit. They both have cloud hosting platforms. You don't need with IPFS, you could launch YouTube, and you wouldn't need to have computers to store all the content necessarily up front on day one. It's really an ingenious system for hosting and doing things. Now, there's also no obligation for anyone else to host your content, so you better have a copy of it or you risk losing it. But all the same, though, think about this from a perspective of home hosting. You don't need Facebook anymore to keep your family in touch because you can grab one of the Facebook killer kits, install it on your computer, use the IPFS file system to hold all your content, and everyone in the family can access all the content. And it replicates on their computers too. It's really brilliant how it's going to work. So anyway, it's also super technical and super deep, and I will admit that I'm literally a week old in this right now, so there could be holes in my understanding. But I'm rapidly filling those holes and trying to figure out how Schrock Innovations can use IPFS technology to improve at least our internal computing between the service centers. I mean, there's so many potential possibilities here that it boggles the mind. Backing up file systems, oh my gosh, this would be an amazing system for doing backups. Thor, should I uninstall the media player from my laptop? Well, I don't think you need to, Rick, unless you have a problem with it. I guess give me some context on that. I'm not sure why you're asking. I'm here too, back for the hour, Roger says. All right, Blake. I'm wanting a VPN subscription for all my devices. Is there one that does this? Well, we recommend ExpressVPN, and I have to tell you, I've gotten 3 people to click my referral link. I've gotten 90 days free Woohoo! So the link I just gave Blake for ExpressVPN gives him 90 day or 30 days free. It also gives me 30 days free. We did apply to be in their affiliate program, and they're like, no, we don't want you. Don't know. Apparently they want like Instagram influencers. They don't want people with radio shows and things to push their product, even though we're pushing their product anyway. They give you coverage on up to 5 devices, Blake. So you can put it on phones, you can put it on tablets, you can put it on computers. If you need more than 5 devices, you need to buy an extra license. Licenses can be purchased either monthly or annually. Annual, it's about $100 a year. We don't make any money when we do this. In fact, I had my guys look into does Sophos offer a VPN that we can pair with the antivirus. Right now, the answer is we don't think so, but we're still waiting to hear back officially on that to find out if there's a way that we could have one less program running on your computer. But nevertheless, we're looking into it. All right, and I love that I clicked to reply to Blake, and then all of a sudden it jumped me back to the top. Have listened to Rush Limbaugh on WHO radio since 1988. A welcome guest in my house every day. Eileen, that was one of the things that really struck me. Like when I listened to Rush the other day, and it was right about the time when they had the National Guard troops out in the parking garage, and literally, like, he just crystallized everything, and it wasn't vitriolic. It wasn't like I can't really listen to Sean Hannity anymore. It just he's so vitriolic about things. It's like, Rush is like, it is that way, guys, and that really blows, and it's not right. We can all say it's not right. We can all agree that it's not right, but now we all know about it at least. And then he moves on to the next thing, and he's very calm about it. And that's not something that's a cancer perspective. That's how he's always been. Now, sometimes he gets riled up, but it just amazes me that this is a guy that literally could have days to live, and he chooses to spend those days doing what he loves, which is bringing some much needed solace to a lot of his listeners. I mean, it's truly inspiring. Loveland, Colorado, yes. All right. Loveland I've been to Loveland. Loveland is a cool little city. I stayed there for 2 weeks doing an internet reality show at one point. So Loveland is great. Now, it's a very expensive city from what I hear. Is it still getting pricier? But it was very beautiful there. Kimberly, you don't get a vote. Thor must do an after Schrock show. Always. Oh, boy. Here we go. Good audio, Winston says. Thank you, Winston. I appreciate it. Full support of the Aftershock. Well, I was never doubting the Aftershock, guys. An hour every week? Like, wow, that's a lot of talking. All right, this is a reminder to open folders on the backup drives to make sure there's data there. I bought an external drive due to Drive Advisor notifying me it was failing at 50%. Brian called to tell me the last time my photos were in those folders was 2014. I thought things were good when I was checking to make sure the folders were present. Lesson learned. All right, so you can always, if you're using Windows Backup, which is what we recommend, there's a do-it-yourself video on how to set it up on our website in the do-it-yourself section at SchrockInnovations.com. But you should be able to go and you click on Start, and you go to the gear for settings, and then you click on the very bottom option. It's like Update and Backup. Click on that. Click on Backup. And it will tell you if your files are backed up. And if you want to, you can just click Backup Now, and it'll start doing a backup for you. It'll tell you the size of your backup. So if you don't see that size change, you say, something's weird there. And then there's certain settings you want to make sure you change as well. And that's all detailed in the video. But yeah, you can definitely check it there. Sometimes, basically, what ends up happening is if you have a hard drive fail and you replace it, getting that to back up to the new drive can be a little tricky because you have to delete the old backup system, basically, and then you can create a new one with the new drive. Otherwise, it just won't work. So it can be a little bit tricky to set it up a second time, but once it's set up the first time, it should run automatically forever if it's set up properly. All these trips to Des Moines, I think it's time to revisit Schrock Force 1. Yeah, this is my... we were talking about this the other day, Kimberly, like, I need a helicopter. And she's just like, oh, Lord. Don't give this man a helicopter. That would be bad. All right. Maybe not the autogyro. Paul, yes, you remember the autogyro. I thought about going there, but I was like, oh, no, that's stupid. No one wants to hear about that. I paid $110 for those plans. We never built it though. Never built it. But those are the days back when I had time to fantasize about that kind of crap. All right. Well, I love the Aftershock. Kimberly very much gets a vote. I'm Thor's guinea pig. You're welcome. Are you sure you want to give Kimberly a vote? I think she would have veto power. She does have veto power. Brave browser is like the old Napster, torrent files shared by all users. It works similar to a torrent. So Brave is a regular browser. It's not just IPFS, but IPFS does have the characteristics of a torrent. In other words, it goes to multiple sources to find bits of files. So you're not, when you download a file right now on the internet, you're going to one website and you're downloading the entire file and you're watching that progress bar creep along. If you use IPFS instead, you're going to 100 different websites, and each website is providing a different piece of the file, which makes the download go brrr, bing, done really fast. So that's why it's faster, is because it's hosted in so many more places. And you know, one of the things that people don't realize, as consumers, we're all focused on our download speed, right? How fast of a download speed can I get? And it's frustrating when you pay for like gigabit speed, but your downloads are creeping along. You're like, I paid for fast internet. Why is this so slow? Because your download is somebody else's upload. Does that make sense? So the file server is serving files to people, and it has a limited capability to do that, a limited number of bandwidth in the pipe. So it limits the speed of each download to make sure it can serve a large number of people. IPFS solves that problem. That's what cloud computing was basically created to resolve, linking a lot of computers together to give us flexibility. So we can always offer fast connections because when more people want them, we can just bring in more computing power. And when we don't need it, we can let that power go back to somebody else who does, and we only pay for what we use. That's the concept of cloud computing. Well, IPFS throws that out the window. You don't have to. You're still going to need a hosting company. You're still going to need to pay someone to host your content. But IPFS will allow you to basically host it in so many places. If you're a business, you won't have to buy a content delivery network anymore, a CDN from Amazon. CDN's $1,000 a year, or $1,000 to set up, and $400 a year for a CDN. You won't need to buy that anymore, because IPFS could completely replace that. So imagine this is a backup service. That's one of the really big downsides right now of using Carbonite. If you've ever had to restore an entire hard drive from Carbonite, you know it took like 2 weeks of your life to do that, because their upload speed is throttled so tightly to save money that it's like watching a 56K modem download your hard drive. It's so incredibly slow. Well, IPFS would allow you to back up and restore almost as if, you know, it was in your house. IPFS would almost allow you to eliminate the hard drive from your computer and go completely cloud if you wanted to, for your operating system even. So that's what I'm saying. This has the potential, guys, to change everything. And without a central point of failure, if Amazon one day decided to knock Parler off the internet, this is one of the things I'm wondering, if Parler is taking so long to come back because they're redesigning their software so this can't be done to them again. And if they are, IPFS might be a way to do that. Now imagine if you install an app on your device that has IPFS built into it, and it uses a fraction of your device's storage capability to ensure that the content of the network always remains hosted. So then if Amazon pulls the rug out from under you, things might slow down a little bit, but it's just a matter of time. Literally, we need to get more computers. We need more hard drives. So we get a computer, we stack it as full of hard drives as we can, we set it in the corner, we hook it up to the network, and we load the IPFS software, and then we walk away. It does the rest on its own. And we just put Drive Advisor on all of them, monitor all those hard drives, and we're good to go. We don't need redundancy. We don't need RAID arrays or expensive servers anymore. $10,000 servers? Nope. We just need hard drives. That's all we need is hard drives. And processors and memory. We don't need a giant server to allocate and spread it around, because whatever we need, it'll just get allocated. Now the downside, there is a downside to this. If there are, what's the word I'm looking for? If it's impossible to knock a website off the internet using IPFS, how do you take down a child pornography site? that is openly hosted with no usernames or passwords and has filth just spewing forth from the pages of the internet? The answer is you can't, because you can't censor it, because it's free speech. That's the downside. What if you had a terrorist organization hosting their propaganda videos like ISIS used to make on an IPFS system? There is no central point of failure. You can't blow up a server. Amazon can't pull them down. The supporters become the hosters. The other downside to IPFS, it is possible to know who is hosting what. So your IP address, if you were hosting some of Parler's content, for example, your IP address would be listed as a hosting provider for Parler. So your internet service provider could say, we don't like what you're hosting, we're going to cancel your internet. So it's just it's a lot harder to cancel people. You would need to have, you'd have to have collusion between tech companies that made what happened before, 3 weeks ago look like a joke. It would have to be complete and utter lockstep, instantaneous. It would be, and then you'd have a computer in New Zealand. I mean, there you go. It's pretty nuts. I've worked with Apple for 7 months on an extremely slow iMac, 1 year old, as in 3 to 10 minutes to get content of an email, 3 to 4 minutes to switch between apps. No solutions, any ideas? Okay. Wow. So it's it's 1 year old. So it's just out of Apple Care, I'm guessing. So Chris, what I would suggest, there's a few possibilities here. Number one, that Apple iMac is basically a PC when it comes to hardware. It's running DDR4 memory and it's running a solid state hard drive. Solid state hard drives can fail. They can pass the disk first aid scan that Apple does and still be in a failure state. They can be slow. Which I'm wondering if that's what's happening to you. If your hard drive was running slowly, you'd have that problem. Now, the other issue is internet connectivity. Everything that you've described as getting emails and things like that, that's internet connectivity. But you also said it's switching between apps. So switching between apps, and that's going to be memory or hard drive. So my guess, if you get that into a service center, let us mess around with it. We will figure out why it's running the way it's running, and we'll get it fixed for you. That's what we do. All right. Parker and Thor would agree. It's not the $2.50. All right, this is Loanne. It says it's not the $2.50. It is that the emails need to do what the offer says. Still, and oh yeah, Loanne, I agree 100%. The email, when you click the link, the email gives you a coupon code, and you have to put the coupon code in the box to get the discount. It doesn't just work automatically. There's a reason that businesses do this. Because most people don't use the coupon code, but they click the link and make the purchase anyway. We gave you a coupon code, but you didn't put it in. We didn't know how to put it in, or I couldn't find the box, or it didn't work for me. Totally get that. In the future, what I would suggest is if you're ever interacting with a Schrock product and you have an opportunity to put a coupon code in and you're having trouble putting a coupon code in, give us a call in the service center. We'll connect over the Schrock desk and help you put the coupon code in. It's that easy. We were offering the early bird discount on holiday specials. You would be shocked how many people purchased computers and didn't even ask for the coupon code. It's how coupon codes work, unfortunately. Thor, do you think Blaze TV might become the next conservative network? It seems Glenn has a lot already in place, plus is located in Texas. I used to listen to Glenn Beck quite a bit back in the day. I thought he had a really good thing going. I liked the educational aspect of what he was doing because I was learning new things that I didn't know. But then it seemed to kind of stall. And everything was always about communism or George Soros. There was never anything new being educated. Now, maybe that's just because I learned a lot of stuff. And now it's like, okay, it's kind of like on Compute This. Sometimes I feel like I'm repeating myself a million times over and preaching to the choir, but there's always 5 new listeners coming in that haven't heard it before, and they need to hear it. Maybe I was the listener that had heard it a million times and decided I was going to, I was a Ted Cruz supporter, so was Glenn, kind of bonded over that. But then after the election was over, I just couldn't take it. It was like never Trump all the time, 24/7. Now, he did admit later on that, hey, I was wrong about Trump. He did a lot of really good things, and he predicted that Trump would basically, destroy the country because he had no moral compass. And so, that didn't happen, obviously. Glenn said he was sorry. He apologized for it, came back, basically said, I was wrong. But the damage has already been done. His show was literally kicked off the Patriot channel on XM and is now on it's on the religious channel. It's on Triumph because he talks about God sometimes, so they put him on the religion channel because Breitbart got him evicted basically. So Breitbart and Glenn Beck are like arch enemies. So there is division among the conservatives there. So Blaze TV, I'm not sure if Glenn still owns Blaze TV entirely. I know that basically his entire media empire kind of collapsed in on itself. Some would say under its own weight, but primarily it was because he bet wrong on the wrong candidate, and he learned the lesson the hard way. The same lesson that I'm trying to learn from with the radio, the main radio show. You don't make everything political. There's no reason to alienate half the people out there if you're not going to gain anything from it, out of spite, So keep the politics out of the radio show. Now, obviously, his show is a current event show. It's really hard to keep the politics out of that. But yeah, I mean, he suffered a lot. He's already in Texas. He's done a lot, but he also doesn't have a production studio anymore. He's sold. I think he had a whole theater at one point that he purchased. He got in a ruinous lease in New York that he had to basically bankrupt to get out of. He went through some really tough times. So I haven't listened in a while, primarily because where do you listen to Glenn Beck anymore? I can listen on Triumph, I suppose, but I just haven't. I guess maybe I should listen again. I haven't tuned in a while. All right, let's see, Mary. If you have a Bitcoin wallet, contact me now. I will learn you how to make money on it. Message me, add me direct on WhatsApp for details. Okay. I've never seen Justin Ben Moma Justin before on the show, and I'm sure he's a fine individual. This right here is a scam. I'm looking at it and it's a scam. You don't make money on a Bitcoin wallet. You can make money depositing your Bitcoin with a deposit account somewhere, just like you deposit it in a savings account, or your dollars in a savings account and make money. But if you have $10 in your wallet, it doesn't magically make you more money in your wallet, right? They can go up and down in value. This guy's going to show you how to make money by sending him your Bitcoin. Send me your Bitcoin. I show you how to make money with it. Yes, yes. This is because we put a hashtag Bitcoin on the live broadcast, and that's where we got this comment. So this is an example of a Facebook scam. Watch out for those. All right. In fact, well, now I just made a big deal out of it. I'm going to make let's see, pin message, see thread. Okay. Yep. So anyway, don't pay attention to that guy. All righty. Let's see. Have you scrolling? Here we go. And he did it again and again. Okay. He's spamming us. He's spamming everybody now. Okay, let's find Justin bin Moma Justin here. Yeah. And we are going to block him. Okay. Justin is now blocked. So that's fun. Sorry about that, guys. You get some people like that sometimes. Yeah, somebody did just spam the thread. All right, and again. All right, thank you, guys. I appreciate you reporting this guy. Life, Liberty, and Levin. Yeah, Mark Levin. Sometimes, again, it's like Levin. It's like it's the same thing every time. Again, the thing that makes Rush so attractive is that he does it with a smile on his face, right? When I hear Levin, I hear disgust. I hear like those people, and I hear anger and vitriol, and I know that that's what a lot of us have been exposed to over time from other people. And there's a desire to reflect that back now that we're in the opposite position. Um, but the rules for conservatives are different. It's not fair, but they are. It's a higher standard. And, you're going to attract more flies with honey than vinegar. So I think we need more people like Rush that are going to describe what conservatism is and what people that are conservatives actually believe in, especially at a time when you have people trying to pressure the State Department to declare libertarians a terrorist organization. I'm not making this up, guys. If you're a registered libertarian, they want to call you a terrorist. You're a small government libertarian, that's terrorism. Oh, is this guy still going? Okay. Kimberly does not get a vote until she's a top fan. Kimberly can't be a top fan because she's an admin. So otherwise she would be, because she's always there. Scorpion Owners Group Small Chopper, $15,000. See that, Kim? I could get a chopper for 15 grand. I wonder how fast I could make that trip back and forth. But I couldn't just land in the parking lot. I'd have to land at an airport and then drive. And, man, I don't know. Maybe I need a helipad. That's what we need. I can just see that. I'm outside the brewing company there, and all of a sudden this helicopter. It wouldn't be a big deal to land the chopper in the parking lot in the morning because it's pretty empty. But at night, that brewery packs that lot. Taking off might be a little bit of a problem. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Deborah, we're getting spammed. Gosh, this guy. Camille, will you take care of this guy and see if you can't delete these posts? This is getting out of hand. All right. What upload bandwidth do you recommend for a household with a lot of tablets? Okay, so upload doesn't matter so much. The upload is only important if you're gaming. And the usually upload limits are tied to download limits. So when you go to a higher download limit, you get a higher upload limit. So for the most part, don't worry about upload limits. You're fine. Alrighty. How much would a 1 terabyte internal solid state hard drive cost during free installation? $325 would be the cost of that drive. All right. Yeah, Dave. Justin bin MoMA Justin. My watch is going off too, so I think my staff is working busily on it here, trying to get this stuff out of here. I deleted all of his comments. I think you're just seeing comment history. I tried to block him. Facebook wouldn't let me. Yeah, so I think that might be because I already blocked him. But, okay. Yeah, we're working on it. All right, Newsmax will take CNN's place. I don't know if that's such an enviable place to take. I mean, really? They will, unless they get canceled too. There's an effort going around right now about CNN specifically trying to get them canceled. You mentioned that SSDs degrade over time, and this is due to use or just by the product of time. I use a 4 terabyte hard drive as an external backup. I just had a 500 gigabyte installed in the laptop this summer. Glad Drive Advisor keeps an eye on it. It's not just a factor of time. It's a factor of reads and writes. And so every time that your computer turns on and does updates, or you use the computer or check your email, you're reading and writing to that drive. So the drive will automatically spread those read writes out over all the available area on the hard drive. It's called drive leveling technology. And the idea here is to wear the drive evenly so we don't have one spot that gets hammered so many times that it wears out and blows up the drive. Now the problem comes in is when your solid state gets too full. So what we're saying is 80% is at the time you need to start getting concerned about this. When your solid state gets to be 80% full, there's only 20% available, and the leveling is going over that 20%, right? And eventually it wears out the drive. So solid states do slow down over time. They slow down based on use. Even if your even if Drive Advisor says it's healthy, it still can be slow. For example, we had a drive in the Papillion Service Center this week that was a solid state that was operating slower than a mechanical hard drive. And they came in for the solid state sale because they forgot they had a solid state. That was a second generation solid state from like 5 years ago. So yeah, the tech is different. There was no load leveling then. The tech is way better now. It's triple layer. It's literally 3 times better now. Maybe exponentially better. I don't know. But it's way better, way faster. So yeah, if you have an old solid state, especially an old Micron solid state, it's definitely time to get that thing upgraded. I'm looking more at his studio being available. I am looking more at his studio being available. I guess I don't understand Ronald. Oh, he built a home studio in Texas. He built a studio in Texas. Yeah, I know he has a location down there, and he took over like an old theater building or something, and transformed it into a studio. And I know he's on KFAB. I just don't think he's on when he's live. You have to listen in the evening or something like that. And I'm never in the car at that point. 6 p.m. KFAB. So I guess I am when I'm coming back from Des Moines. We close at 6 over there. So I'm driving back 6 to 8. I suppose I could pick it up and listen there. Let's see. Get to the chopper, Thor. Alrighty. And he's live at 8 a.m. I listened to him on KNZZ and then switched to Rush at 11. Yeah, that's the thing. You could use internet radio and listen to it that way. Get to the chopper, Thor. The Schrock chopper. All right. You haven't seen my kids using their tablets, computers, and devices. My front door video doorbell drops off occasionally. We have 400 down and 20 up. 400 down for streaming and all connected devices might be a little low. You might want to look at maybe increasing that a little bit. The 20 up is, video up. 20 is, right now I'm doing this radio show and I have about 20 up. Upload speed of about 20. So it's enough to get the job done. Alrighty, let's see. Just a comment on Levin, Beck, Rush, Limbaugh, and Rubin? Who's Rubin? They're basically the same but flavored differently. Beck has changed his approach. Levin is a rant, but often deep in content. Rubin, interesting point of view that is more to center libertarian, and Rush is a calming point of view. Maybe that's why I was so like, oh, Rush. I needed some calming this week. Good morning. What do you know or think about Joe Ricketts' Straight Arrow News? It's an interesting concept. It's what Fox News was supposed to originally be. Fox News was never supposed to be a conservative network. It was supposed to be just fair and balanced, right? Both sides of the coin. So the problem you have when you're trying to do Straight Arrow News is, number one, if it's just a headline service, it's going to be really boring. And unfortunately, news is entertainment now. It's infotainment. So are you going to have opinion people? And if you are going to have opinion people, you can find right-wing opinion people a dime a dozen. Where are you going to find left-wing opinion people who are decent at what they do? They've tried to create left-leaning radio networks, and it's like doom and gloom and despair all the time. Nobody wants to listen to that. They just don't listen to it. So they die. I think that Straight Arrow is going to be interesting because we need a news source we can trust right now. That's why I think it might be more about a timing thing than anything. There is no... do you trust Fox News? Do you trust CNN? Do you trust MSNBC? Now, I want you to think really hard on this one because I don't trust Newsmax. Do you trust Newsmax to deliver you the actual correct information as opposed to what you want to hear? That's what worries me about OANN and Newsmax, is when you start from the place we are right-wing and you cater specifically to people who are only right-wing, when something comes up in the news that is true but detrimental to a right-wing person, are they just going to ignore it? I mean, Republicans aren't all white as the driven snow. We want accountability, right? We want journalism, right? That's what we all say. We want journalism. Well, give me journalism back. I mean, this stuff in the media for Biden is making me sick. And poor Peter Ducey is the guy from Fox who's the only one asking real questions in the briefing room. And the press lady was like, how dare you ask me a question that's actually a real question? Yeah, it's ridiculous. Don't know what happened. My local bank suddenly popped up and my ad fund account on Coinbase. Wouldn't work before anyway. Set up and buying Bitcoin, yay. Try Dan Bongino for an interesting positive. Yeah, Bongino's great. My wife, actually, lovely Kimberly, got me turned on to him. Most conservatives can honestly handle both sides of the news. Just be honest with the news. I don't trust any of them. It's exhausting, but all stories have to be checked on several sources to find truth. That's right, and you can write a headline to be deceptive, even if it's just headlines. So it's like I said, it's going to be an interesting challenge. I don't envy him in doing this because he's going into a market that has zero trust rating against massively funded competitors, entrenched ideological outlets. Who is his base? Who are the people that are going to read Straight Arrow News? Or is it one of those things where you're going to still read Liberty Daily, or you're going to still watch Newsmax, but then you're going to go check Straight Arrow News for consistency? But then the problem is, what happens when something on one of those other stations contradicts with Straight Arrow? The answer is, well, Straight Arrow gets thrown under the bus. Because when you're tied ideologically to a media source, it's like you're giving away a piece of yourself. If they're wrong, you're wrong. So they're not going to be wrong. I'm not going to be wrong. Therefore, Straight Arrow must be wrong. It's going to be, I was like, is he going to have opinion? Is he going to have commentary? Are they going to do webcasting, or is it just going to be print? Is it going to be like a Drudge Report kind of thing? I don't know enough about the project to really speak super intelligently about it. I just know that it's not going to be easy. Alrighty. Yeah, Glenn was on the KFAB last week because the normal host was on vacation. Great for fill a time slot. Yeah, that it says something though. Like, the local guy that we pay local money for isn't available this week, so why don't we just grab Glenn Beck? You could throw him in there. Yeah, he's a good filler. He's a filler. So anyway, all right. So a couple things real quick before we get going. I do have a couple news stories actually. Facebook has an oversight board. Did you hear about this? Facebook's oversight board will now have the ultimate say on whether the permanent suspension of the former president's accounts should be upheld. So it's like the Supreme Court is going to judge whether Donald Trump actually incited violence in the Capitol. Okay. Since you mentioned the Supreme Court, they did, not me, they did. There is absolutely nothing in any of the president's statements that would pass the legal. There is actually a legal bar. I did not know this. Incitement is a legal term that has a legal definition, and nothing he said rises to the level of incitement. On the left, you'll hear him say things like dog whistles. It's a dog whistle. It's a secret code word that only racists know to use. Well, then why do you know it, huh? If you know about the dog whistle, you must be a dog. It's so incredibly stupid. But anyway, Facebook, along with Twitter and a bevy of other social networking sites, banned Trump for posting online following the January 6th attack on the Capitol by pro-Trump extremists, during which Trump was accused of actively fomenting a violent insurrection designed to thwart the peaceful transition of power via a series of incendiary posts. Nick Clegg, Vice President of Global Affairs and Communications for Facebook, said in a press release that while Facebook stands by its initial decision to deplatform Trump, the company acknowledges the problematic nature of tech companies having the power to ban elected leaders. And they go on to justify, I'm not even going to read it. Facebook's oversight board will have the ultimate say on whether the permanent suspension of Trump's accounts should be upheld. Whatever the decision the board makes is binding, meaning that not even Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg will have the ability to overturn the decision. Facebook announced the 40-person oversight board in 2019, with Zuckerberg likening the body to a Supreme Court for resolving issues in content censorship. Okay. So they're going to take a look at this, in March, I think? So he was deplatformed in January. So any kind of time-relevant speech can be actively censored, number one. Number two, just having a presence on Facebook doesn't mean anybody actually sees your stuff on Facebook. How many of you see the posts that we put up if I don't boost them? I took 2 weeks off from boosting on Facebook after this whole garbage because I just felt dirty sending them money. I was like, this is wrong. What they're doing is wrong. You can disagree. You can say whatever you want, but to literally shut someone's voice down across the technological spectrum like this is just wrong. So I stopped. It wasn't like huge money. It was $50 every $50 a week, something like that. So I cut the $50 a week out. Ha ha! Show them. And our engagement dropped by 319% on our Facebook page. I reached fewer of you with messages that were important. So Facebook has a situation set up where you have to pay in order to have your own audience see your posts. And if you don't pay, they just don't see it. So how much would Donald Trump have to pay if he's reinstated to have all of his followers see his posts? Is there enough money in the world? So, I mean, you can see maybe Mark Zuckerberg can't ban Trump, but he can relegate him to the broom closet and make sure no one ever sees his face. The oversight board, and there's been a lot of people, you can Google it, because the next question is, who is on the oversight board? The thing that this strikes me, okay, so Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg is the CEO of Facebook, and the buck stops with him, right? So it was his decision to ban the president. That's a lot of heat, right? That's a lot of heat for him, for the company. We need a third-party oversight board, like a blue ribbon committee to study something, like the committee on base closures. You see, nobody wants to close a base. Base closings are bad for the local economy. Look what happened when they closed the South Gate to Offutt, to Bellevue, in Nebraska here. All those businesses around the South Gate died because there wasn't anybody going in or out of the gate anymore. And that was just the gate. Imagine you closed the whole base. But we had too many bases, so no politician wanted to say, yeah, you can close my California base, it's good. So they created a commission, a blue ribbon panel, the Commission on Base Closings, to study the issue and then recommend which bases needed to be closed. Because then no actively elected politician was actually recommending that some other politician's gravy train get shut off. It's the commission. It is what it is. This is the same exact thing. It wasn't my call, it was the commission. Well, who puts people on the commission? Mark Zuckerberg. Who is on the commission? Do your own homework on this one. I have to admit, I don't know everybody on the commission. It could be a perfectly balanced commission. On the other hand, I've heard some of the people on the commission are extremely left-leaning. Well, is it a straight majority vote? Does it have to be unanimous? How does the commission work? That's important too, right? So just creating a commission, this gives Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook immense cover for making these kind of decisions. They still make the decision to deplatform, but Trump then has the right to appeal to this board, to this oversight board. Is he going to appeal? Interesting idea. Should he appeal? Or should he, because if he appeals and loses, which is a distinct possibility given, Facebook's position, doesn't it just reinforce that we had an independent oversight board actually look into this and they confirmed that he was in fact inciting? So he was. And that's why he's deplatformed. Case closed. Done. So does he even appeal it? Or does he just wait for the next media source to come out and then jump on that one, next social media thing, and instantly bring them 25 million new users, overnight? It will be an interesting thing to watch. All right, so businesses in the pandemic. You may not, I'm sure everyone's aware, but last year was challenging. It was very challenging. Challenging from a financial perspective, challenging from a logistics perspective. We're still suffering through shortages on processors and graphics cards that are severe, severe. Like I have computers that I'd like to build for inventory that I can't build because I'm waiting on processors to come in. It's nuts. So anyway, 4 out of 5 businesses, this is ZDNet headline, lost their biggest client during the pandemic, but rebuild confidence is high. Many businesses are struggling due to the pandemic, but there are ways to survive losing your largest client. It might only be a temporary setback if you have a bounce back plan. Every business, what, a bounce back plan? Isn't that just like a marketing plan, like to continue to grow your business? But the statistics in this article are pretty crazy. So the survey showed that 4 out of 5, 82% of business owners reported losing their biggest client during the pandemic, resulting in a 48% drop in revenue. Further, businesses who reported losing their biggest client have had to let go an average of 13 employees. On average, business decision makers indicated losing 3 clients each, and almost 8 in 10 reported anticipating the loss. So they knew it was going to happen. 14% of business decision makers said the loss of revenue was between 50% and 60%, and more than 1 in 5 respondents indicated forfeiting between 60 and 80% of their total overall revenue from their biggest client. Smaller businesses seem to fare better. Micro businesses, which are defined as 1 to 9 employees, reported the lowest loss of overall revenue after losing their biggest client. 42% of them lost their biggest client. Whereas medium-sized businesses with 50 to 250 employees reported the highest revenue loss at 51%. Let's see, going through this other stuff, half of decision makers lost their client due to the pandemic. Other businesses reporting having lost their biggest clients were a change of direction and goals, 36%, change of leadership, 32%, or failed business models, 27%. Those are the reasons why the clients left. The survey showed that businesses have tried several ways to retain their largest clients. Half of businesses reported offering a discount, offering to do more work, 42%, and renegotiating terms to benefit the client more, 40%. Only 1 in 3, 34%, have actually met with a client in person to try to persuade the client to stay. Looking forward, 91% of business owners have a plan prepared to rebuild their businesses, and 53% felt that losing their biggest client was only a temporary setback. Yeah, guys, I mean, one of the really nice things about Schrock, we're a unicorn. We're really weird as a company. If you look at everything that we do, we provide managed services that lots of other companies provide to businesses. When you talk about losing your biggest client, that's who they're talking about. They have a business that was like 50% of their revenue, and they just said, we can't afford it anymore, we're done. And then, whoa, we just lost half our revenue. What's up with that? We take all those same kinds of services and we make them available to consumers. Nobody else is doing that. That's why you can buy Sophos, guys. Sophos is business-grade antivirus. That's why it's not in the consumer lists. That's what DriveAdvisor is. DriveAdvisor is a managed service provider hard disk monitoring tool. Secure Updater is a managed service provider third-party patch management utility. These are all things that we could have bought from other places and integrated and pushed out, but instead we built our own, because all the ones for businesses aren't built for consumers. Consumers want to tinker, they want to get under the hood, they want to see how it works. They don't want to be bothered by it though, and it's a fine line to walk. So that's one of the reasons why we designed the software the way we do, with minimal interfaces, right-click menus, so you can go in there and look at what you want when you want, but then it doesn't get in your face. But it still will alert you when your hard drive is failing. So you don't have to have a financial relationship with us to have that happen. You can download DriveAdvisor right now for free from driveadvisorer.com, install it on your computer. 14.8% of all hard drives that are scanned are bad. We had a call in the show, K drive, 99% starting to fail. It happens, guys. All right, last call for questions. My voice is actually starting to go on me here. All righty, let's see. Getting back in here, scrolling up. Okay. Journalism always has been biased. It's just the way it is. That's true. Everybody has a bias. But this idea that you become a journalist because you want to change the world, that was new when I was in college in the 90s. One of the reasons I went into journalism, actually. I was a journalism major for a little while. I wrote for the Daily Nebraskan. I wrote the Daily Nebraskan's article on the release of Windows 95. after I wrote like 5,000 pages, they're like, you have to edit this down a little bit, Thor. And I was like, but the features are so amazing. It's plug and play. Oh gosh, those were the days. Michael says he's hoping that the re-education camps have good food. You know? Oh, if it wasn't such a sad thing to think was even possible in America. Anyway, the swamp creatures are just sending a message: no more outsiders allowed. You know, and that's, you know, one of the things. If I was going to put a critique on what Trump did, draining the swamp is going to always be a popular message to go to Washington. People are going to get elected for years to come, for generations to come, saying they're going to go to Washington and clean that place up. The problem is, any mom will tell you, when you have a child that dumps a bunch of paint all over themselves and all over the floor and everything else, you can't clean up the whole mess at one time. You have to be smart about it. The first thing you do is you restrain the child, because the child is now a human paintbrush running through your house, touching things, and they are touching everything. They're touching their siblings, and then their siblings are touching things. It's like a virus, right? But there's paint everywhere. First thing, bam, grab the kid, clean the kid, get the kid out of the room. Second thing, start cleaning paint, top down, right? So one of the things I think that Trump made a mistake with was going in there with the idea that he was the commander of the ship, and that the bureaucracy, the people who run the ship, who know how to do everything, were going to execute his will. That was clearly not the case for a lot of reasons. So now I think somebody else a lesson you could take from this, the next person that comes along, you can't drain the whole swamp at one time. That's the problem. So you have to drain areas of the swamp. So what areas of the swamp can you start to drain first? You can't drain the whole intelligence community because you need them, number one. And number two, you can't fight them all at once, guys. You got to fight them one at a time. You got to divide them and fight them if you're going to fight them. If you're going to accept the premise that they need to be fought. You know, people are taking money from China. Well, let's create some kind of a commission to expose the people that are taking money from China and use that social pressure to stem the flow of the problem while we structurally figure out how is it that people are able to do this? What went wrong in the system? Because there's enough rules in the system. Somebody's just not enforcing the rules. Who is that somebody? And let's get rid of them. So, I mean, that's the first thing is, you know, anybody who wants to get to Washington and clean house, the first thing they're going to have to do is they're going to have a laundry list of people at the ready, a laundry list of Elliot Nesses, basically, to come in there, and no human being can resist the corruption of Washington forever. I'm sorry. You could be Jesus Christ himself, and that place will corrupt you eventually. So the idea is we're going to bring people in. They're going to serve a short time here. They're going to do a specific goal. And then we're going to turn them into recruits to recruit more people like them to come in for a short period of time, do a good job, and then leave. So we don't have the permanent career bureaucracy that we have in Washington. And then what's going to happen is you're going to find that things start running more efficiently. And when things start running more efficiently, you need less of them. Now, the problem is this is not a 4-year endeavor. You can do a lot in 4 years, but this is not a 4-year endeavor. This is literally a multi-presidential endeavor. You would need to have the capability to impact in positive ways. So there's lots of things that you can pick on in Washington that everybody agrees is garbage. When you're studying how fast shrimp run on a treadmill, left, right, center, Antifa probably knows that's a waste of money, right? And now we can all argue about where we want the money to go instead, but let's all agree that that's a waste of money and stop that. You know, one of the things that's interesting, do you notice that in your state legislatures, at least in Nebraska, you don't get a bill that is about, you know, let's say paying teachers more money and find a shrimp study stapled onto the back of the bill. It's because in Nebraska there's a rule that everything in a bill must be germane to the bill. You can't pork up a bill to push it through the legislature. It's not allowed. It's against the rules. That one simple change would absolutely destroy Washington, D.C. as we know it. Now, the problem is you're going to ask lawmakers to make that change. The lawmakers are the ones putting the pork in the bill because they get pork on the backside for putting the pork in the bill. They get their helping. They're not going to do it. But start with the bureaucracy. It's the bureaucracy that does it. Start with the bureaucracy at your local DMV. Start with the bureaucracy in your local social services department. That's where these decisions are all made. There aren't figureheads at the top of these committees deciding what to do. It's the people working under them that hand them the report with the recommendation that they execute. So, you got to overtake the people at the bottom, right? You got to make sure the people coming into those organizations are people who will do their jobs properly and honestly. And I'm not asking for a conservative bias at the DMV. Don't get me wrong, or at social services or anything like that. All I'm saying is you have right now people that are biased in the opposite direction. So even going back to a balanced approach would look like a radical rightward lurch right now. Start there. You can't take on the entire world at one time because the world will beat you. Germany learned that one. You can't take the whole world on at once. You got to try to take them on one at a time. And the same lesson learned is true today in Washington. You cannot take on every entity in Washington at the same time. You got to pick your battles. You have to fight smart. You can't go for a carpet bomb strategy. You need to be a smart missile and go in there like SEAL Team 6 and take it out one bureaucrat by one bureaucrat by one bureaucrat at a time and replace them with people. Again, this is one of the things that I got the impression from President Trump. He always replaced people with people he thought were loyal to him. Loyal to him. Now, that might not be true, right? I don't know the president. I had never talked to the president. I've never actually talked to anybody who's worked for the president. But from the biographies that I've read and the things like that, the personal loyalty to Donald Trump, the president of the United States, was very important to him. I don't know that it's a good thing to have people in those positions that are loyal to a person. Loyal to an office, okay, we can argue that. The office is the person, okay, we can argue that. But I want somebody to come into that bureaucratic position to do the job properly and honestly. And not try to, hey, I feel that this should be done differently. So I know the president wants to declassify a bunch of stuff, but what if that paper just ended up in my desk drawer for an extra 3 days? And then I pass it on to the next guy, and he puts it in his desk drawer for an extra 4 days. And then the next guy that gets the paperwork, he holds it for 7 days. And soon it's a month, and then a year, and then all of us, whose fault is it? Who did this? Well, you can't, every bureaucrat's like, I only had it on my desk for 4 days. What do you want from me? Look at my desk. What do you want from me? How do you solve that culture problem? Well, you have to bring in new people. You have to replace the culture. Anyway, there's my rant. All right, I get fact check all the time. Hey, Roger, if you get fact checked on Facebook, you see an instant reduction in your visibility. One fact check. And every time you get fact checked, it's exponential. You lose more visibility. So, yeah, when you get fact checked, it's a bad thing. Bottom line, Trump was a reflection of 75 millions discussed with Washington establishment. Very true. Commissions, the foxes are watching the hen house for the farmer. Very true. Which location has more open bays, Papillion or Omaha? Omaha. Because Omaha does not build the computers, because PAP is the warehouse location. Also, Omaha has 40 bench spots to Papillion's 12. So Omaha almost always has more available bench spots. All right, term limits across the board would help, but the problem is you can't term limit a bureaucrat who's got union representation. It's not the term limits of the politicians, it's the bureaucrats. It doesn't matter who you elect, which is what we've learned here. It doesn't matter who you elect. The bureaucracy runs Washington, not the politicians. It's the bureaucracy. And the politicians exist at the behest of the bureaucracy. So term limiting the bureaucrats, then they would just shuffle from job to job, promotion to promotion. I mean, but then they're all unionized. It's like, How do you even deal with that? Right now, the Washington bureaucracy are entrenched and can't be fired. But your point of view is very on point. My father-in-law suggested to Trump early on that we send senior staffers to Antarctica to count penguins. No, make them look for polar bears. There aren't any. But they tell me that the ice is going to melt there and the polar bears are going to fall into the ocean. So I think it's important that we locate these polar bears, maybe tag them, so that if the ice does melt, we can save them. I think we can all agree that saving the polar bears is the right thing to do. And we can all agree that those senior staffers from the bureaucracy are the perfect people to do the job. All right. Same for the line item veto. Okay, well, maybe not. It probably depends who your president is, right? Sophos and Mac Big Sur problems. When you first install Sophos on Big Sur, it doesn't fully work, but we did gain access to the Big Sur beta. It's not a beta anymore. It's the Big Sur experimental program, basically, that Sophos is using, and it works perfectly. They have to call it a beta while they test it, but it works perfectly. So if you have Sophos and you have Big Sur, and your Sophos is throwing an error at the top of the screen when you click on it, give us a call at the Omaha Service Center. Ask for Brian. He can fix it for you in like 10 minutes. We'll get you taken care of. All right, guys, there's your hour. I got to run. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you being here. Please remember to like the show, share the show with your friends, except for you, Roger, because you get fact-checked a lot, so maybe no one will see it. I don't know. But but please like and share. Please take a moment to review Schrock Innovations on Google. I know, guys. No, I get it. A sad fact of life. One of the things that Facebook is emailing me now because I've reduced my daily interactions by 50%. Now they're emailing me to let me know that these people have posted important things for you to see. And I'm like, I'll look at them tomorrow on my Facebook day. Every other day. I have a Facebook day where I check it like twice. And then I'm done for another day. And that right there, their algorithm is noticing that I'm not coming around as much, and I'm certainly not posting anything more anymore. Because everything that I think is funny to post, I have to now think, yeah, that could be interpreted by, don't want to post that. It's really funny, but I'm not going to post that. I wanted to find something to post Bernie Sanders doing at Schrock, but I couldn't think of anything. Your challenge for the week is to come up with a Bernie Sanders meme and share it with us on our Facebook page about what Bernie Sanders is doing at Schrock Innovations right now. All right, there we go. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great afternoon and good Sunday. We'll see you all next weekend. Thanks a lot.